everyone who have already donated and to those who continue to support us, thank you very much. Maraming salamat po. God bless you.
We are changing lives. We're making a difference to thousands and millions of children's lives by being here and through what we do. We are sowing seeds for the future. We're sowing seeds that's going to change this world.
Children and youth deserve a better future. Better future, better situation than where we are now. Because violence is a violation of the life God desires for every child.
Lagi po natin tatandaan na tayo po mga kabataan ay pag-asa ng bayan. Nasa ating mga kamay yung future ng mga saling lahi ng ating bansa.
Ang nakita ko, World Vision was able to create projects that is able to sustain them, to teach them and educate them kung paano sila mabubuhay ng pangsarili nila.
Dahil binigyan kami ng sapat na kabuhayan ng World Vision, nung hindi ko kaya ibinigay noon sa mga pangangailangan ng mga anak ko, unti-unti na bibigay ko na ngayon.
Naniniwala kami na kapag ang mga batang Pinoy makapagtapos ng kanilang pag-aaral, mas uunlad yung bayan natin.
Sana wag silang mawala ng pag-asa kahit na ang daming problema, ang daming nagiging hadlang para makuha nila yung pangarap nila, para makuha nila yung edukasyon na gusto nila. Patuloy lang na lumaban.
Thanks to Papa, it's easy for us to study and makes learning more exciting.
With good result, the Division of Sarangani decided to institutionalize the culture of reading in the whole division.
Tumaas yung antas ng edukasyon ng mga bata. Dahil sa kanila, mananatili ang World Vision at mga sponsor sa isip namin, higit lalo sa aming puso. Saludo kami lahat.
Children and youth can provide solution as well to prepare, mitigate, and build back better when crisis happen.
Nagpapasalamat kami sa World Vision sa pagsusuporta sa aming munisipalidad. Ngayon, masasabi ko na handa ng dagami sa mga posibleng emergencies at kalamidad.
World Vision reiterates its commitment to help ensure that children of Marawi are provided for.
Kailangan maging handa sa mga gantong suliranin. Alamin ang mga dapat pagandaan at iwasan upang hindi umabot sa panganib ang ating kalagayan sa panahon ng kalamidad o sakuna. Dapat ready.
Yung naging focus ng Mother Baby Friendly Philippines project, paano natin ma-regulate ang distribution ng mga breast milk substitutes and to raise awareness kung ano yung breastfeeding and kung bakit ito importante para sa mga anak at para sa mga nanay.
To all the sponsors and donors, thank you for your support in providing better quality of life for the children.
Doing this in World Vision because we believe the Social Innovation Challenge, or finding those innovative minds, the game changers as we call them, would be instrumental in solving problems such as education and agriculture, as I mentioned.
Naging inspirasyon ko ay ang aking sponsor sa World Vision.
Salamat sa Panginoon na may isang katulad niya na handang tumulong sa isang katulad kong bata. Kayo po ay isang tunay na bayani.
Sa ginagawa niyo po, tinutulungan niyo po mag-transform ang buhay ng mga bata at makita niyo ang kanilang halaga na tumulong din sa mga kapwa-bata.
I feel blessed, honored, and privileged to have been used as an instrument to share God's love dun sa aking sponsor child. So, well, my heart is full.
Let's all pay it forward. Maliit na bagay ko sa atin, pero napakalaki nun para sa kanila. Let's give them hope. Let's give them a brighter future.
I would encourage more people into the fold of World Vision for them to be able to enrich their lives as well as what I have did with mine.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to World Vision's virtual CSR Summit 2020 entitled Doing Good is Good Business, Corporate Social Responsibility in the Midst of the Pandemic. Throughout this two-day event, we will be able to hear from the industry's top leading executives as they share their experiences and learnings from their various corporate social responsibility activities that they have done. We will highlight various programs and partnerships from different sectors and industries that impart a strong message that doing good is in fact good for business. For day one, we will have an overview on how the corporate and the private and public sectors contributing to the nation's fight against COVID-19. We will also have a panel of experts later on to discuss how they protect their stakeholders during this crisis. We ask every one of you to participate actively in the discussion by typing your questions in the comment section below. And we will read all those comments during our question and answer segment later this afternoon. To begin with our program, let us welcome World Vision's National Director, Mr. Romel V. Fuerte, for the welcoming remarks.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are so delighted to welcome you all to World Vision CSR Summit. We hope that this event will be a great opportunity for us to learn from one another and strengthen our collaboration in uplifting the lives of our countrymen, especially during this time of pandemic. World Vision's recent study on the impact of COVID-19 to children, families, and communities revealed that food insecurity, disrupted education, and limited access to healthcare are the topmost concerns. We believe that you and your organization's CSR programs and advocacies will help address these concerns. World Vision continuously plays an active role in creating shared values amongst the private sector, the government, and other stakeholders. The success and sustainability of all the CSR programs we've co-created and co-implemented are born by our mutual trust and confidence and commitment to excellence and hard work. We find joy and hope in working together, especially with the impact to the most vulnerable children, our future generation. Truly, there's no better business than doing good business through CSR. We pray that you will find this event meaningful and that you will learn from one another today and tomorrow. This is your CSR Summit. Once again, welcome. Thank you very much, and may God bless us all.
Thank you so much, Mr. Fuerte. And before we continue on, we would like to take this opportunity to thank our sponsors and partners who made this event possible. First of all, our corporate partners, Urbanize and U Elements, our media partners, Inquire.net, Business Mirror, RMN Foundation Incorporated, Net25, and Business World. Our event partners, Arden Communications, Marketing Interactive, Asia CEO, Page One Manila, The Luzon Daily, The Visayas Journal, The Mindanao Live, The Philippine Post, Women.ph, and the Public Relations Society of the Philippines. The COVID-19 pandemic has really brought a tremendous challenge to us that we are all facing today. Since the virus started, several businesses have experienced significant losses, while others had to cease operations. However, it is still amazing to see how many of these companies who have chosen to help despite the pandemic, from ensuring that their employees still have jobs during the lockdown to providing health insurance to frontline workers. These companies have proven to us that there is no stopping the culture of generosity or bayanihan among us Filipinos. To give us a briefer on the efforts of the public and private sector during the pandemic, we welcome the President and Chief Operating Officer of Aboitiz Foundation, Ms. Maribeth Marasigan.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As of October 6, the World Health Organization reported over 35 million confirmed cases and over 1 million deaths, and this continues to rise. The COVID-19 pandemic is the defining global health crisis of our time and the greatest challenge we have faced since World War II. But the pandemic is much more than a health crisis. It's also an unprecedented socio-economic crisis. Every day, people are losing jobs and incomes with no way of knowing when normality will return. The International Labour Organization estimates that 400 million jobs could be lost worldwide. And it's no different here in our country. According to a recent report from the Asian Development Bank, the Philippine economy is forecast to contract by 7.3% in 2020 amid the pandemic, before growth returns to 6.5% in 2021, hopefully. Our unemployment rate rose to a high of 17.7% in April, but thankfully has gone down to about 10% in July with the relaxation of community quarantines. So to say that these are extraordinary times is an understatement. We're all aware of the government's massive effort in trying to balance lives and livelihoods. However, no matter how deep we delve into the government coffers, it's never enough. We all needed to come together to help alleviate the situation we're in. Businesses, civil society, non-profit, non-government organizations, big and small, all came together in response to the government's call for help. First and foremost was for businesses to take care of their employees. While businesses ground to a halt during the lockdowns, they continue to provide for the needs of their employees. This consists of wages, bonuses, leave conversions, loan availments, and other forms of assistance. For example, as early as March, Aboitiz earmarked 900 million to cover the financial needs of our over 11,000 team members nationwide. Hand in hand with the public sector, private companies and NGOs stepped up the battle against COVID-19. Individually and collectively, we all came to help. While the pandemic disrupted the way we live and work, it has also brought opportunities for us to collaborate and innovate in order to adapt. It's only in working together we can win this battle against COVID-19. Several initiatives were done at each level to effectively respond to COVID-19. At the macro, meso, micro level, interventions were instrumental in combating the spread of the virus and in helping the country move towards recovery. At the macro level, policies were rapidly adjusted, priorities were set, target resources were determined, and multi-sectoral responses were ensured by the national government. This into the passing of RA 11469, or the Bayanihan to Heal Us Act as One Act in March, and recently RA 11494, or the Bayanihan to Recover as One Act to further COVID-19 responses and recovery interventions. At the meso level, partnerships play an important role in ensuring an integrated and inclusive system-wide response. And at the micro level is where the support of businesses, foundations, NGOs, and CSOs come to play. Over the past months, the support includes assistance to frontliners, engagement with community structures, and identification of vulnerable sectors. The response is more targeted and relevant to the smaller units of community. Let's take a look at some of the examples of this collaboration at the meso level, and I am sure many of you present here today are participating in these initiatives. One of the biggest collaboration undertaken is the Task Force T3. The IATF and the NTF and the Department of Health and Health, with the support from ADB, convened the Task Force T3. This public-private initiative supported the government's effort in expanding our country's testing capacity and facilities for treatment and for quarantine. Today, per report, we have a testing capacity of 40,000 at 143 licensed testing labs with 1,838 treatment facilities and over 7,000 isolation facilities. Project Ugnayan is the single largest private sector-led fundraising collaboration to aid households during the ECQ in Luzon. To address food security, the group led by PDRF and Caritas Manila raised 1.7 billion from 220 corporate and individual donors and provided gift certificates to 2.8 million families or 14.2 million individuals. Project ARC is another private sector-led initiative which aims to generate rapid test kits to help pinpoint and contain the spread of the virus, to help Filipinos get their lives back and help businesses rise up again. 300 companies participated as of August, and they have tested about 108,000 individuals, of which 67,000 tests were carried out by private companies, and the LGU partners finishing 42,000 tests. And this is still ongoing. At the micro level, Aboitiz Foundation is dedicated to continue our efforts in co-creating safe, empowered, and sustainable communities through our various CSR interventions during this pandemic. The pandemic opened more room for us to innovate on how to do things so that we can continue to serve our communities. Like many organizations, we're also affected by the pandemic and made significant changes in order to adapt to the new normal. Aboitiz Foundation immediately switched to relief mode at the start of the ECQ in March, providing PPEs, food assistance, medical supplies to healthcare and military frontliners in NCR, Cebu, Iligan, Davao, and in other areas where we operate. The Aboitiz Group's total contribution to the national COVID-19 response effort has reached over 2.2 billion as of September, underscoring the group's sustained campaign to help address the urgent needs of frontliners and affected communities nationwide. We partnered with organizations to help them raise funds for their COVID-19 initiatives. Through our online donation platform, Kinder by Aboitiz, we were able to raise 2 million pesos for the medical frontliners through the UP Medical Foundation and Towns Foundation, which translated to 130,000 PPEs distributed to 1,000 hospitals nationwide. World Vision's Abutin Natin campaign is another advocacy we support through Kinder. This campaign aims to help public school students with their basic needs in the recent opening of classes. If you're interested to donate, please visit our website, kinder.aboitiz. As an organization, we're committed to our core values of integrity, teamwork, innovation, and responsibility, which fuels us to immediately adopt and continue to deliver projects that are based on the changing needs of our beneficiaries in the new normal. We redesigned our programs so they can be implemented remotely online. In the area of education, we continue to provide scholarships and financial assistance to our college and high school scholars via online transfers. We offer laptop assistance. We launched the Aboitiz Scholarship Portal, a one-stop hub To continue to communicate and engage with our scholars, we also conducted ABC virtual learning sessions where we invite speakers to educate them on how to flourish in the new normal. And we're also participating in Lingap sa Pandemya, a WASH program with other members of the League of Corporate Foundations and the Department of Education. As we journey into the new normal, we continuously engage and communicate with our other stakeholders like our cooperative partners and assist them in accessing and availing government assistance programs. We apply strategies such as recover, diversify, convert, or reinvent. In partnership with Union Bank's Global Linker, UBX CCAP, GoNegosyo, DTI, and the Department of Agriculture, we are working on transforming our co-op partners into digital co-ops so that they can take advantage of emerging opportunities on e-commerce. To ensure community safety and resilience, we conduct disaster risk and reduction and management programs. This includes disaster preparedness, disaster response, and early recovery and rehab. But because of the pandemic, our focus is now on providing relief and response to the community's pressing needs. However, while working with COVID-affected areas, we're also implementing rehabilitation projects for those affected by the Taal volcano eruption and the recent Masbate earthquake. Recently, Aboitiz Foundation, together with Aboitiz Equity Ventures Risk Management Team, partnered with the Department of Agriculture for the Philippine Rural Development Project to design and organize a training of trainers on business continuity planning. And internally, while most of us work at home, we also have developed online programs to help our teams reskill and upskill to adapt to the evolving demands of our work. In these challenging times, it's also our responsibility to help them embrace the change so they remain inspired in advancing business and communities. 2020 has been a tough year for everyone. The COVID pandemic, as mentioned, has changed the way we live and work. Many in the philanthropy and community sectors have moved from long-term planning to short-term response and investments to support the most pressing needs of our communities. As we begin to navigate our way post-pandemic, we need to recover, reimagine, and reset our minds to doing things differently and using this situation as an opportunity to innovate and to create. We need to be a connected force so we can heal and recover as one. Thank you and good afternoon.
Thank you very much, Ms. Marasigan. That is truly an inspiring message, and we're so honored that you are with us this afternoon. And it's really to reimagine and create innovative solutions for now that we are trying to recover from this pandemic. Thank you once again for that. And to start with this afternoon's plenary session, we have with us today top executives from 3 organizations who have had significant impact in today's economy amidst the pandemic. These organizations have shown the importance of ensuring the welfare of both internal and external stakeholders in the time of crisis. Once again, we would like to invite everyone to type in your questions at the comment section for our discussion segment later. For our first speaker, Mr. Guillermo M. who served as the private sector co-chairman of the National Competitiveness Council from 2011 to 2018. The NCC was a public-private council that developed strategy for the long-term competitiveness of the Philippines through policy reforms, project implementation, institution building, and performance monitoring. He is an associate director at Ayala Corporation, and prior to his current posts, he was executive vice president and chief operating officer of Ayala Foundation, executive director of the Makati Business Club, managing director of Knowledge Institute, and Secretary General of NAMPRA. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Philippine Disaster Resilience Foundation's Chief Resilience Officer and Advisor, Mr. Guillermo M.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Let me just share my screen, and I'd like to thank World Vision for inviting PDRF and myself to speak at your summit on doing good and doing good is good business. We were asked to speak about protecting stakeholders during the pandemic, and so I wanted to focus on that. and maybe emphasize that for us stakeholders at PDRF, we use a very broad definition because we're not a company, we're actually a foundation and a network of companies involved in this. So maybe I'll start with a little something about PDRF. We're formed in 2010, so after 2009's Ondoy or Ketsana. And it was primarily put together as a relief agency in the beginning, relief and recovery. And we built up a network. And then eventually we morphed into Philippine Disaster Resilience Foundation when we added resilience and the full packet of PRRM into our work program. So we've got well over 60 companies as members of PDRF, and we're currently co-chaired by PLDT Smart Communications Chairman Manuel Pangilinan, Ayala Corporation Chairman and CEO Jaime Augusto Zobel, and Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle. I'll emphasize a little bit at the outset what our paradigm is in our work. So as I mentioned, we started originally as a response group and then recovery group. Those were the two original mandates we had. But we had decided after Super Typhoon Yolanda or Haiyan in 2013, we wanted to take a look at the full spectrum and focus on prevention, preparedness, mitigation, response, and recovery. So that was one of the big shifts we had, and that is our current operating paradigm. The second is that we invested heavily in partnerships and network and in interoperability of those partners and of that network. So when we planned our Emergency Operations Center back in 2014, we wanted to look at this interoperability and partnerships first within the private sector, because we found that we were all working in independently of each other. We wanted to work private sector to government so that we wouldn't also work independently of each other and work in a more coordinated fashion. And then finally, we wanted to coordinate private sector to NGOs, international humanitarian organizations. So those are the three key areas where we focused on interoperability. And then finally, we looked at four key risks. Typhoons, where we have 20 to 25 years, that's fairly predictable. Earthquakes, less predictable or not predictable really. Volcanoes, a little bit predictable. And then pandemics. So those are the four key risks that we looked at. Our work, as you can see, is scattered all over the country for in different aspects of preparedness and prevention, and then the response side, and then the recovery side. We also work internationally through the United Nations, UNDP, and the Connecting Business Initiative. And there's a network of countries around the world that are also setting up similarly, like PDRF, business networks together with government and NGOs and international humanitarian organizations. And we happen to train a number of them. Either we travel to their place or they travel to Clark, our Emergency Operations Center, or in this case now it's via Zoom. So let's take a look first pre-pandemic, because it's easy to forget that we had another disaster at the beginning of the year, which is Taal eruption. And Taal caused a bit of disruption for the Philippines, in the sense that it closed the international airport down for a while and disrupted a lot of businesses and lives in Region 4A. And so we were able to mobilize and help in that area. However, thankfully that was short, because before we knew it, COVID was upon us. So let me focus on what we had to do for our COVID response. And this is where sort of our look at stakeholders and types of responses we needed to do. First thing is stakeholders here can be not only our companies and our partners, but of course the general public. And in our case, we work nationwide. Second is we rely on a lot of partnerships and the network to be able to leverage on each other, to be able to extend our reach and be able to move large amounts of assistance For instance, when we take a look at ready-to-eat meals, we're able to work with many partners and serve over 1 million meals distributed. No, so it's just an example of how we're able to leverage. And I'll walk you through a few of the individual projects. Already mentioned by Maribeth is Project Ugnayan. This was a collaboration of 220 companies working with first with Caritas as the core distributor, and eventually we added ABS-CBN's Pagtawid ng Pamilya program, and then the Pagtawid ng Pag-ibig program, and then Jollibee's food aid program, and then the ADB and the Philippine government's Bayan Bayanihan program. So in total, we were able to reach 2.8 million families, 14.2 million individuals in a combination of gift certificates, grocery gift certificates, and food packs. And that was, as I said, put together by more than 200 donors, both individual and corporate, mainly corporate, of course. This just shows you the pace of delivery, and this is one of the first projects that started right when ECQ was announced in March. We were up and running by the end of that first week and continued on until end of April and into May and just early June. So this is the pace by which we felt we needed to move, because we were afraid people would go hungry. So this is families, and this is persons. And just for Caritas, this was the distribution within the Greater Metro Manila area. So we took NCR plus provinces of Laguna, Cavite, Rizal, and Bulacan. ABS-CBN, ADB, and Jollibee also had similar distributions across the Greater Metro Manila area. Shifting to another audience, we took a look at how to train frontliners. And here we created a project called Project Pag-asa. We teamed up with Project Hope and Brown University, the Watson Institute, with infectious disease control doctors and emergency doctors. And we were able to begin a program training the trainers. We started with about 84, 85 doctors across 77 hospitals who participated in the training. And they participated on condition that they could train more people. And so after about 2 or 3 months, the 84 trainers were able to train 2,103 doctors and medical professionals across the country. So we felt we needed to build up capacity, and we relied on partners, Project Hope and the Watson Institute. And then we felt after food, we needed medical supplies. We created Project Kaagapay. We brought together Swelling Pharma, Metro Drug, ABS-CBN. We were able to raise 181 million pesos in cash in kind and started distributing medical supplies to 85 hospitals and organizations. So sometimes we gave them a full set of PPEs, or sometimes we gave them in pieces that they required, whether it was the coveralls or the surgical gowns or surgical masks or N95 masks. So we were able to sort of mix and match the goods to the hospitals on a nationwide basis and distribute. One of the things we learned in this distribution is that most of this stuff is imported. So we started a local, we wanted to promote local manufacturing. So we leaned on a global partner. We have a global logistics partnership with UPS, and at the request of a garments manufacturer who's originally an exporter, and at the request of the Department of Trade and Industry, we were able to bring in 40 tons of medical grade fabric for PPEs. We brought them into Clark, courtesy of UPS, and then had them trucked to Laguna, to Cavite rather, and Conduent, the Confederation of Wearables in the Philippines, started producing medical grade PPE coveralls. We have an advocacy to locally manufacture PPEs because we wanted security of supply, but we also wanted to support the local economy, manufacturers, and and workers, and we continue to advocate this for PPEs and for mask production. One of our more unusual partnerships, and it was a great way to leverage. Everybody knows Airbnb, but with their business down, nonetheless they decided to support uh, uh, frontline workers. So they gave us hotel credits, uh, and we're a big user of Airbnb at PDRF, but they gave us hotel credits so that we can support frontliners and place them in partner hotels. So we teamed up with 7 hospitals, 7 hotels, and we booked room nights for our frontline workers. And then another part of the partnerships we had was food for frontliners. We work with many food companies, McDonald's, Jollibee, Andox, and with Lala Move and other delivery providers. And we're able to provide meals to hospital workers. Up to today, we're providing meals, and we must have started providing meals back in April. And just this morning, I received reports of deliveries that were made just this morning. I'd like to speak a little bit about T3 because then this began to really take on a far larger scale. So T3, or Task Force Test, Trace, and Treat, is a government and private sector task force. And the intention here was to put together private sector support to help the government through a range of issues or problems they needed to solve. The first one was how to increase the testing capacity in the country. We were able to get companies to either make donations of equipment or to build labs and to expand labs. So Red Cross came in, San Miguel came in, and as of August, we had 107 labs. We now have 137 labs as of October. And DOH continues to accredit labs. But when we started in April, there were only 17 labs. And the whole testing capacity was only maybe 4,500 maximum back in April. We were up at 30,000 tests per day by the end of May. And today we're well over 100,000 tests per day capacity. We hit 1 million tests in July 2020. We're over 4 million tests now as of October. And testing is important because if you can't test, you can't spot. It's an invisible enemy. The only way to make it visible is to test and know if people are positive or negative. So total tests conducted per day from a very low 2,000 to 3,000 in April. We're now testing on average 35,000 per day across the country. Then a lot of isolation facilities and quarantine facilities were built. Maribeth mentioned quite a number of them, over 7,000. Some of them are built by the private sector, some by national government, and some by LGUs. So these are just an example of what was built by the private sector for quarantine facilities. And then to help MSMEs, which are really suffering in terms of loss of income and a lot of loss of business and shutdown threat, we set up this website called CCAP, together with Connecting Business Initiative and UN OCHA. And this is a platform for not only providing advice and tips to MSMEs, but actually networking them with resources that would help them survive. And so if you'd like to check this out, you can go to www.ccap.com.ph. We also created, just recently, iadopt.pdrf.org. This is a sort of a teaching, learning platform. A lot of the lessons and materials are placed on this platform, and people can get together using this platform. And it's a free platform for people. So businesses and organizations can go to iAdopt and check out what lessons have been posted in iAdopt. And then finally, I just wanted to outline that all of this we placed on our resource hub. So if you want to find out what's the latest on any of the projects, whether it's Project Pag-asa or Ugnayan or Kaagapay or CCAP or any of the new projects that come in, because there are always new ones coming in, we've posted it all on our website. And within that website, we have a microsite called the Resource Hub. So that's the covid19.pdrf.org, and it summarizes everything. And when you look at it, it provides a map, so you can see where all of the projects, how they've been deployed, where the goods are distributed, where the people are trained across the country. And we're great believers in technology and mapping, so we map everything. And if you go to the resource hub, it will pinpoint on the map where all the resources have been distributed. So we're always happy to have partners, new partners, and rekindle old partnerships actually with companies and with organizations. We'll be happy to join any of you out there. If there's any way we can help, just kindly let us know, because as I said, we're true believers in networks, collaboration, and partnership, because that's the best way to leverage our resources. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Luz. Wow, that was a very informative talk. And like what you said, we really have to work together. And this is proof that the public sector and the private sector can work together to make all of this happen. That we can really, truly rise up from where we are right now. And so for our next speaker, we have Mr. Carlos Barrera. Born in Madrid, Spain, Carlos graduated with a double degree in Business Administration and Finance from University Carlos III de Madrid. He was previously in consulting industry for 5 years in Europe and South America, covering strategy, mergers, and acquisition projects. Carlos came on board Lazada in 2014, where he started in the Malaysia office before taking on his current role with Lazada Philippines. As the Chief Operating Officer, he is currently in charge of overall platform traffic, category management, and seller acquisition and engagement. Please welcome Mr. Carlos Barrera.
Good afternoon, everyone. Wow, that was a great presentation. I really enjoyed seeing the initiatives, and I'm so honored to be part of this panel today, because end of the day, we're all trying to do our best, right, and to improve the situation today. So I'm here to share about how at Lazada we want to empower both our brands, sellers, and our customers to do better, right? To really build communities, and our main mission is to empower them to have a better experience, to build communities, to grow local sellers, local brands, and build a strong set of sellers that can grow online, right? So I'm just going to share a bit about how we adjusted our business to this situation, and to really leverage this COVID-19 to adjust how Filipinos shop, to give more opportunities, and to support businesses trying to transition. So I'm going to share my screen. Can you see my presentation now? There. So at Lazada, we've been growing our business very fast. The situation was really exciting. Business was growing, e-commerce was doing well, we were doubling our orders, doubling our amount of sellers, and all of a sudden, the pandemic hit. And the pandemic hit, changing the way people shop and the way businesses sell, right? This change was completely transformational. We went from a situation where less than half of the population was shopping online to more than 70% of Filipinos shopping online and needing online to fulfill their daily needs, to make sure that they can buy what they want, to make sure that they're able to get the items that they want, and to make sure that they can buy their essentials. We're no longer talking about having some nice things. We're talking about really needing this to be able to buy their essentials, to get their daily needs, right? So let me know if you see my presentation now. Sorry, I'm having some technical difficulties. You cannot see the presentation, right? Okay, 1 second. There, you can see it. There. So, how did we react to this? How did we improve the way we work, right? The most important thing was really, we wanted to see how customers wanted to improve. We wanted to see what were the categories that we had to drive and how to innovate. So our business slowed down tremendously. We were trying to make adjustments. We were trying to serve essentials. But of course, during the first month, there were a lot of restrictions. There were a lot of limitations. We weren't really able to serve the needs, right? So we were discussing with the different partners. We were discussing with the different entities and really pitching why e-commerce was so important. So after a few months discussing with them, after a few months of presenting our vision for the market, we were able to persuade them that we needed to open up online. We needed to drive more online sales. So starting April, we saw additional growth. Starting April, we were able to show additional initiatives. Now, what did we really do? First, we focused on essentials. We launched very, very aggressive last mile campaign where people were able to buy their daily needs, where people were able to shop and really get their supermarket type of needs. We were focusing on food. We were focusing on fresh items. We were focusing mostly on personal care. The way we were working, we really tried to drive the shopping needs of the average Filipino. So we put together a big plan. We onboarded a lot of the essential brands, and we started to provide free shipping supermarket purchases. This was our main initiative during April and May. At the same time, we know people were worried about cash. We know people were concerned with having to pay, having to transact and see everyone face to face. So we ran a lot of additional initiatives for digital payments together with a lot of partners. We had Pay Safely initiative with Wallet, and we also wanted to be entertained. We wanted to show that even if things were tough, there were additional things that they could do. So we worked on our live streams. We had different sessions, different raffles. We basically also wanted to be more of a lifestyle destination. Yes, they were only able to buy essentials, but they could come and see exciting shows, see different actors, and really stay entertained, right? So we did everything we could to bounce back also from a financial perspective. What we did was, first, helping brands connect to consumers. So we got all our brands and we told them, this is a time for us to go and engage with our customers, to show different shows, to help them present, to help them really feature in your items and build brand affinity. So we were able to convince more than 300 brands to do live streaming and to engage online. At the same time, we wanted to connect with the basic supply needs. So we prioritized essentials. For the first 2 months, when you opened Lazada, you couldn't see anywhere. You couldn't see anything other than essential. From the first screen, your search, everything, you'll see Breeze, you'll see Fiesta, you'll see Pedigree, you'll see really basic items. And we ran this stay safe, stay at home campaign with the basic stocks constantly flowing. We had to work overtime, making sure that our warehouses were operational, that our fulfillment centers were operational. And we're really grateful to our logistics team. They were constantly working day and night, and they were really exposed, but they went the extra mile to be able to provide these daily needs, right? Now, at the same time, once the economy started opening up, once online was finally allowed to open during May, what we did was to focus on onboarding local businesses. We partnered with DTI, we partnered with different stakeholders, a lot of business associations, and we sent the message across that this was the time to reinvent themselves, this was the time to sell online. So we have been onboarding 3 times more sellers online. These are local Filipino entrepreneurs. These are businesses that had offline stores that couldn't be open. These are businesses that had to pause their operations because of the situation. So we have been onboarding thousands of sellers every single day. and giving them the opportunity to try to make a business and to grow online, or at least to be able to maintain their operation. We have some amazing examples, like some restaurants that they open an online store with us to sell their needs. And just selling their most basic items, they were able to maintain their restaurants. They were able to continue paying for all their workers, right? Now, at the same time, we were able to partner with a lot of brands to start selling online. We have onboarded hundreds of brands during this time, mostly focused on daily essentials like RFM, but also working on things that they may need that they don't want to go outside of their homes to buy. A lot of basic personal care, a lot of entertainment. Now, the biggest innovation was changing our entire supply chain to launch fresh and frozen goods. We got more than 200 micro sellers, small entrepreneurs of fresh items, fruits and vegetables, community sellers, producers that were not able to sell now because their supply chain had challenges, seafood, all types of items that people needed. And we saw very, very good customer acceptance. A lot of them they were telling us that they were now able to cook at home and stay safe at home because they were able to buy this. Now, at the same time, we wanted to support local brands. We wanted to support local businesses. We really featured Philippine brands and Philippine entrepreneurs. And we had a set of campaigns to show our customers that they were able to buy local products online with us. Love local, shop local. Now, one of the most important pieces of our advocacy is generating opportunities for MSMEs. We partner with a lot of the LGUs. We onboarded hundreds of sellers from Quezon City, Manila, the key areas with a lot of with high density of sellers. And we partner with DTI, with Bounce Back. We really tried to share the message, even with the Go Local stores, even with shopping malls, that Lazada was there to support them. One of our most exciting initiatives was with Green Hills Shopping Center, where we literally moved all their stores online to Lazada, and we gave them a way to continue earning. Now, how did we also empower our communities? The first step was partnering with different NGOs. Lazada, as a company, donated money, partnered with a lot of the initiatives that the speakers raised earlier, Project ARC, a lot of the different foundations. But we also wanted to enable our customers to donate. We know how difficult it is to donate sometimes when you're at your house, when you're at your home, and you're very used to donating through bank transfer, you're very used to donating offline. So we onboarded 25 NGOs, all types of NGOs, from Red Cross to Caritas to Kaya Natin, and we created ticketing donations where customers were able to donate their money to these causes. The way it worked was like as simple as buying any other item online. We had this Lazada for Good, and Lazada for Good is here to stay. This is our donation platform, started last Christmas, continued during Taal, and we doubled down during the start of COVID with the focus of giving donations to frontliners, with the focus of providing relief to those in need. So we raised more than 25 million pesos from our different customers that they were able to donate directly to all these NGOs. At the same time, a big part of our advocacy is about creating opportunities. It's about building businesses. So we also gave our own relief package to our sellers. We issued more than 100 million pesos in funds and programs for our sellers to stay in business. We wanted them to be able to continue selling with us. We wanted them to have a financial boost, at least a few months worth of working capital to pay their workers, to continue their operation. And we partnered with different financing providers to also support these sellers. We also issued new support for new sellers. We created a dedicated plan for those new sellers that wanted to join the platform. So we tiered it in two dimensions. One is the Bounce Back Together package, over 100 million pesos to our existing sellers to stay in business. We were able to support more than 7,000 sellers. We calculate this will be more than 100,000 direct jobs. 7,000 sellers that were able to receive support, waived payments, additional shipping discounts, financial assistance. And we were really proud to see how they maintained their business and they thrived during a time like this. As soon as demand started recovering, because we were able to help them, they continued growing, and in fact, many of them even expanded their business. But we also wanted to support our advocacy by creating opportunities. We saw some of our small entrepreneurs that are coming from physical stores have more than 5 times their sales. Through these executions with Green Hills, with a lot of the bazaars, they saw 5 times more sales online. Onboarded as recently as June, some of them became millionaires. They earned millions of pesos per month overnight. And we really wanted to build our Fresh, Lazada Fresh, to support this type of community and producers, community sellers and producers. We expanded our coverage to entire Metro Manila, and we sold millions of products of fresh and frozen products. We saw more than 2 times increase in sales for those newly onboarded items and fresh items. And we enabled next day delivery for a lot of these sellers. It was very challenging for us because it meant that we had to change our entire supply chain, add more riders, change our processes, but it was very rewarding. Now, we were also able to stay close and to maintain our engagement and work closely with our community through different online seller events. And lastly, we were able to maintain our team, to work with all our frontliners, to continue our thousands of logistics partners motivated, earning a living, and expand our packages, supporting them to finance their goods, supporting them to finance owning their own equipment, and continue earning a living during a difficult time. Thank you so much. Our vision is to engage, connect, and empower, and to really support our communities, build local brands, support Filipino entrepreneurs, and get every business in the Philippines to sell online. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much, Mr. Barrera, for sharing generously what you've been doing at Lazada. And who would have thought that an e-commerce like Lazada would be helping a lot of individuals and small enterprises here in the Philippines. And it has greatly not just helped those consumers for those essentials that we needed, but also our sellers who lost their physical space in shopping areas. And so thank you very much. Lazada for Good has been helping also World Vision with our COVID response as well. And thank you again once again for that. And for our final speaker this afternoon, we're very privileged to have with us Mr. RJ Caballuna. He is the Grab Philippines country marketing head. Sir RJ leads the growth and brand marketing of the different services of Grab in the Philippines, and he is also championing Grab's social impact agenda, Grab for Good, where he leads programs and initiatives to ensure that Grab's tech leadership in the Philippines helps empower its communities and improves millions of lives. He has a strong record in growth marketing, product development, finance, and business operations gained from holding key positions in Globe Telecom and Procter Gamble Philippines. He graduated from the De La Salle University, Manila, with concentrations in entrepreneurship and business management, and obtained his MBA from the Asian Institute of Management. For leisure, RJ enjoys long drives and loves traveling to see new places and cultures. So please welcome Grab Philippines Country Marketing Manager, Mr. RJ Caballuna.
Hey guys, good afternoon. So one moment, let me just share my screen. Can everyone see my screen? Okay, awesome. So again, good afternoon, and I'd like to thank you for taking this time to be with us today, be with me, be with Ms. Maribeth, Carlos, as we talk you through highlights of the different initiatives, of the great initiatives that we've been doing for the Philippines. And now I'm going to walk you through some key highlights of the Grab Bayanihan initiative that we have with Grab on how we have protected the communities during these very disrupting times. So we may have faced very challenging times during the pandemic. The pandemic has brought about a lot of challenges, issues, concerns with the different communities that we have in the Philippines. For many, this period has actually brought about many emotions about fear and doubt. So we keep asking ourselves, right? Like, when will this long winding period be over? And in a matter of weeks, we have actually been forced to change the way of life, like the way we do things. The fact that we're here on a digital conference speaks of how things have definitely changed. We have been asked to stay at home, practice social distancing, and adopt new ways of living. I mean, to be able to protect ourselves and our loved ones. It is undeniable that the pandemic has come at a high cost for everyone. However, I mean, this session's about looking ahead and moving forward. It's not about looking back at what we have done or could have done more, but it's about seeing the many works that we are about to do also to continuously protect and support families, our loved ones, and our community. And it all starts with a dialogue, right? Like with you and with everyone here. So over the past months, our characters as Filipinos have really been tested. Like with every calamity we have to face, Taal, may it be the pandemic also, we have faced it bravely, together, as a one strong community. May it be with the public sector or the private sector. So for many of you, Grab is an app that helps you do things. Like it's an app that takes you from one place to another. It's an app where you can order food, where you can send packets from the north to the south. But in the past months, like Grab has been there to connect millions of people to millions of different people as well. To be part of each and every, to put forward that good that we call do all together. So actually, this is already the second year that we have shared with everyone our social impact report. That social impact report helps us to be inspired, to help our communities even more, solve for the many important issues around us. And we want to be part of this journey of good, to deliver meaningful moments to those we know and we are yet to know. So I'll just run you through, again, the key highlights of the Grab Bayanihan initiative that we have been doing. So as many of us know, again, the fact that we're holding this virtual conference is an example of how much the Philippines and the world has changed. The way we do things, we live, the way we work. And it has affected, again, millions of lives and livelihoods that have been impacted. As COVID-19 reached the Philippines, the entirety of Luzon, together with key cities like Cebu and Bacolod, these communities were placed under ECQ. Public transportation, ride-hailing with Grab have been suspended. So it actually stopped mobility altogether. However, despite the suspension of our core business, the priority of Grab remained clear. And for us, it was about how we get to protect the lives and livelihoods of Filipinos during these times. I mean, again, a lot of things to different Filipinos. Ride-hailing, deliveries, satisfying thirst or hunger, helping send across to be something you forgot, or even flowers to your mom. So people regard us also as an e-wallet, helping them send and receive even money. So Grab means a lot of things to many of us, but in this time of uncertainty, in this time of doubt, in this time of unprecedented concern, we have distilled many points of view, and one valuable message remains clear. We need and we want to be there to protect and support the lives of many Filipinos who depend on us and the work that we do. So that is why we launched our Grab Bayanihan initiative, because we believe that this uncertainty that we are all facing would require an act or a solution from each and every one of us. Again, from that maybe from the private or the public sector, and to everyone here actually. And actually, with the true meaning of Bayanihan, a spirit that's actually very unique and unique to the Filipinos. We have launched several initiatives under this umbrella that not only inspired forward all of our willingness to help one another, as our responding to the crisis, but it's also our way of helping Filipinos recover and navigate the new normal. I mean, it's the term that we've all been hearing ever since this crisis has happened. So let me take you to a snapshot of the Grab Bayanihan initiatives. We focus on 4 key pillars. First, about how we get to protect and support the lives and livelihoods of our driver partners. How we actively protect those vulnerable and serving on the front lines. How we support those who are staying home, like each and every one of us. Those staying at home, helping to flatten this curve. Lastly, how do we get to help small businesses, our SMEs, grow? How do we help keep them alive and even grow even bigger into a digital economy as we battle the pandemic and our hard-hit economy? So let me run you through each one. So the first one being to protect and support lives and livelihoods of our driver partners. First, it's all about safeguarding the welfare and health of our driver partners. So during this time, we have actually provided financial assistance to those who are actually under government-mandated quarantines. A similar financial assistance to cover for medical bills of driver partners who test positive for COVID-19. We have rolled out safety policies to protect their welfare, such as even contactless deliveries. I'm sure a lot of you have already experienced that. Regular temperature checks at the start of the day for our driver partners. Beefing up our Grab safety hotline, and a very robust contact tracing system in tandem that we do with the government and health officials. We have also equipped our driver partners with masks, alcohol sanitizers, for them to safely fulfill delivery services and even transportation services for consumers staying at home or for those consumers traveling across Metro Manila. So protecting partners' livelihoods amid a national health crisis also for us include about helping them financially in terms of prior to the implementation actually of the ECQ months ago, Grab Financial Services Philippines have actually immediately rolled out deferred payment arrangements on the loans of driver partners. Likewise, Grab Philippines has also worked with several different banks, including Union Bank, Metro Bank, BPI, BDO, Toyota Financial Services to provide car loan payment breaks for driver partners to ease the financial burden during this time. And with public transportation being suspended following announcements of different levels of quarantine, Grab has been able to offer virtual training to all of our Grab car drivers, and we even got to quickly onboard them as delivery partners, may it be for Grab Food, Grab Express, and Grab Mart. Across Southeast Asia, we were able to onboard close to 150,000 driver partners that have been temporarily transitioned to the delivery fleet. So thus allowing them to have an alternate source of income for their families. So to help them tide through also other financial needs, Grab has also provided the delivery partners with several pools of financial aid. This could not have been done possible if without the help with DTI, LTFRB, DSWD. So we have worked closely with these entities and was able to include thousands of delivery partners as beneficiaries of the government's social amelioration program. And then it's about how we continue to extend support to delivery partners, wherein Grab, together with together with employees, the different communities, corporate partners, all have raised more than 20 million pesos worth of relief items, including grocery vouchers, rice, canned goods, that have benefited and affected that have benefited actually more than 60,000 affected partners. So given that the uncertainty of the situation around the suspension of public transportation, Grab has distributed these relief items with no stop to the driver partners in batches for months now. The next one is about how we actively protect those vulnerable and serving on the front lines. So I'm talking about our government partners, our healthcare frontliners. And since the implementation of the enhanced community quarantine, Grab has actually worked in tandem with different LGUs, including Manila, Quezon City, Pasig, Iloilo, Cainta, Bacolod, as we actually deployed Grab Wheels. So Grab Wheels is Grab's e-scooter service. This should help the different LGUs ferry around their own municipalities to help them to carry on their duties with the suspension of transportation. Also, to assist with government units in distributing food and medical supplies within their own cities, Grab has also deployed specialized car fleets to different cities, again, including Pasig and Quezon City, Muntinlupa. And ever since the deployment of this specialized delivery fleet, we have been supporting the local government units for free. Grab has also utilized its platform to rally different parts of the community, from you to me to consumers to merchants. We have rallied them by developing several donation streams and mechanisms using Grab Rewards, Grab Pay. And in that, we were able to harness the power of the platform and have raised over 10 million pesos, which have been used to purchase and donate PPEs, meals, for the benefits of those serving in the front line, including even food bags, for those again impacted by the pandemic. The third one is about how do we get to protect and support you. For those staying at home, how do we get to serve you? How do we get to continue to protect you and serve you as part of the community? So going back a few months, within weeks, Grab was able to introduce a new service called Grab Express Pabili, which people can use to buy daily necessities, including medicine and other essentials for those who actually are unable to leave homes. So these are especially the PWDs and senior citizens. And Grab was able to serve even more households and communities as we continued to roll out the service to not just within Metro Manila, but also to Iloilo, Davao, Pampanga, and Bacolod. So Grab in this time has also made cashless payments more convenient and secure for those staying at home. So through our tech innovation, users can now pay for their bills, send money to their loved ones, pay for food and parcel deliveries, and even for their Grab car rides straight from the Grab app with Grab Pay. So also, again, in a time when queuing for groceries might have been challenging, Grab has also launched Grab Mart. So this is our on-demand for daily essentials. If you haven't tried it, please do try. We now have over hundreds of different merchants there offering from groceries to toys even. So now users can simply shop for their groceries without leaving the safety of their own homes. So, and lastly, to provide timely and relevant public service announcements, on the last part there, you would see that we have dedicated over about 2 million worth of advertising space to the LGUs of Manila and Pasig. This is to help the residents there of the different announcements on time and concise with the LGUs. And then lastly, we have been working actively with different stakeholders, government partners, to leverage our technology in helping out communities respond and recover from the pandemic. So we have partnered with the Department of Agriculture, Department of Tourism, and the DTI, while we continue to support small businesses, including farmers. So we have also launched earlier this year our Madiscarting Bus Club, which is by now the largest social seller club that we have in the Philippines. We help these small and micro entrepreneurs get a wider reach while still also helping them out on their business. And I mean, given that also on small businesses, right? How do we continue to support them? So across Southeast Asia, Grab was able to provide over $3.5 million in ads value to these homegrown heroes that we have in Southeast Asia. So these include our social sellers, different merchants that we have, your mom and pop restaurants, your mom and pop retailers. So we have provided them over $3.5 million in ad value to extend their reach and to help their business for free. And to sum it all up, all the way until June, actually our efforts have affected and impacted already about 3.6 million Filipinos, of course, still growing. These would include customers who were able to use the innovations, driver partners who were able to earn a living more by serving communities, small businesses who were able to serve customers throughout the platform and in turn help provide for their own staff. It includes as well frontliners, displaced families, even patients who were able to benefit from our fundraising initiatives through GrabPay and Grab Rewards. So, and actually between March and June 2020, we had about 12,000 merchants onboarded to the Grab platform in the Philippines. And our data shows that small businesses saw at least 57% growth in online revenue through Grab during this period. So again, we have recently released also our social impact report for 2019 to 2020. You may want to learn more about these initiatives that we are doing, not just in the Philippines, but across Southeast Asia. Aside from these findings from our COVID response efforts, we have seen several key themes as well as we navigate towards the new normal. And then you'll see all of these in the social impact report. Again, thank you for your time today. I hope we were able to enlighten you with the key initiatives that we're running. I encourage you all to download the social impact report. You can see it here in the link, www.grab/ph/grab-for-good. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. RJ, for sharing your insights and what Grab has been doing to help communities and even us individuals through their platform. We really enjoyed knowing what Grab Bayanihan is all about. So please do download what Mr. RJ showed on the screen earlier. And also, we would like to thank you again for all of your insights from all of you speakers who are with us this afternoon. And so we are going down to our discussion time. So now we will discuss the ideas this afternoon in our Q&A and panel discussion. And to facilitate this afternoon segment, we want to call our moderator for this afternoon. Our moderator for this afternoon is Ms. Ritzy Villarico Ronquillo, who is an advisor of the International Association of Business Communicators Philippines. an advisor of the President's Council member of the Public Relations Society of the Philippines. She is also the chair of the IABC Awards Committee Gold Quill Awards, as well as the Philippine chair of the Blue Ribbon Panel of the Gold Quill Awards. Ms. Ritzy is also a member of the International Public Relations Association, a trustee and board secretary of the UP College of Mass Communication Foundation Incorporated, and a trustee of the Philippine Council of Associations and Association Executives. May I request for our 4 speakers to turn on their videos and cameras again and unmute your microphones so that we can prepare for our panel discussion and Q&A. So may we call all of you back and have you at our panel discussion.
Thank you, Laika. Are we on?
Yes, Ms. Ritzy, yes.
Okay. All right. So I'd like to say hello to everyone and hello to our speakers. And if you're just tuning in right now, we have listened to 4 speakers tell us about what they're doing in their respective companies and organizations in this time of the pandemic. So we have listened to Maribeth Marasigan of Aboitiz Foundation and also the chair of the League of Corporate Foundations. We have listened to Mr. Bill Luz, who is the Chief Resilience Officer and Advisor of the Philippine Disaster Resilience Foundation. Likewise, the Lazada E-Services Philippines COO, Carlos Barrera, and the country marketing head of Grab Philippines, who is RJ Cabaluna. You see, we've been listening to all these brands that are actually all relevant and essential in these times. And in some ways or another, we are all their customers and their stakeholders as well. So if I may just put together something that has been common among all the stocks, they have presented to us comprehensive solutions. And yet that they have also tapped into diverse and multiple partners across both private and public sectors. They have gone into relief, and yet they moved not only just to give relief, but to strengthen as well as to move things forward. What we noticed in all their presentations is that there is macro mobilization, but that there is granular implementation. So they had to read the pulse of their stakeholders very well to know what they should be delivering in these times. And also astute and on-point business decisions, but really based on what the customer needs. So we also heard that there is really an essential need for the supply chain, for logistics, and for people touch points. However, virtual lang po. They have to be virtual touch points as of this moment. So really, we have a very rare chance this afternoon to listen to our speakers, and even more that we have an opportunity to ask some questions. We can take around 3 questions perhaps this afternoon. We have approximately something like 10 minutes for this. So I saw some questions in the chat box, and so we are ready to take these questions. And so if I'll take the first one. All right, this one is for everybody. So given that nobody really expected the pandemic, how ready or not ready were your companies to protect your business? And how were you able to shift gears and support others as well? So who would like to go first? Would you like to go alpha listing?
I can.
Oh, there's Maribeth. There's Maribeth. So would you like to take it as ladies first?
Okay.
All right. So
I
Maribeth.
think like everybody else, we were all taken by surprise. We woke up one day and COVID was there. We immediately had to shift to an emergency mode for not just for the foundation, but for the business. But I think that our digital journey, transformation journey began way back in 2017, and that has really paid off for us. Transitioning from the work at home setup was not as difficult for majority of people in the organization. And working from home allowed us to do business as usual, at the same time, business unusual. So the use of technology was the one that really helped us in making sure that we are up and running, both for the business and for the communities.
Yes, and Aboitiz is a group of companies that has diverse product lines and businesses as well. So you're letting us know that it was digital that could also help, that really helped you
Yes.
agilely adjust to the situation.
Yes.
I know that our speakers also turned to digital. So who would like to go first? Would we go the mobility or the online shopping? So who'd like to go first?
I can go first.
Volunteer.
Yeah, I can do
Go
it.
ahead.
I go ahead.
All right, let's go alpha listing. So we go Carlos Barrera. All right. Are we going Carlos first? Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
So I think the first step, right, and a lot of the panelists also shared, it's really about the power of the platform, the power of the community and the partnership. We were relatively ready because we have been innovating and we've been building a lot of flexibility in the network, flexibility in the website, in the app. But the idea is you need everyone, you need the ecosystem, because you can conceptualize anything you want, but when something like this happens, you need to be able to quickly integrate the community, the NGOs, to contact partners. Otherwise, it's very hard, right? So I think it's a bit two steps. We were relatively ready, but what made us succeed, which I think it was relatively successful during the current situation, is the support from all the partners. Having built all these partnerships and the ability to integrate everyone, because it's very hard to do it alone. It's really a shared community, and we need to support each other during a time like this.
So these were existing partners, or you suddenly also found yourself looking at other partners that you had not yet had relationships with?
Some were existing, some were not, but we were able to quickly integrate them because we had built that infrastructure, that platform to connect. So it's not like we had to build it overnight, right? We were designed in a certain way to empower and to quickly adjust.
Okay, thank you, Carlos. RJ, you wanted to share?
Yeah. So it's the same thing actually. Like everyone was surprised with it. Like you, me, Carlos, Miss Maribeth. Everyone is surprised with it. And luckily for us, the platform, same with Lazada, is actually quite flexible. So in a way, we were prepared for it. However, a lot of the parts of the community weren't. So obviously, our driver partners were not prepared for it when transportation was suspended. Our merchant partners were not prepared for it. Like restaurants were closing left and right. Different retailers were closing left and right also. So it's about how we integrate different players and different parts of the community onto the platform to be able to move all together. So it's all about also inclusivity for us. I even remember the first few days of the pandemic and lockdowns that we had in the Philippines. Different teams in Grab had sleepless nights, all preparing for different things. How do you get to support our driver partners? How do we support our merchant partners? How do we continue to support delivery partners also? So I guess to answer the question, we were partly prepared as a platform, but it's all about how we get to be more inclusive, bringing all together different players of the platform to move forward.
Thank you. And now let's hear from Bill, because he has quite a lot of business pillar companies in your network.
Yes. Well, for PDRF, we, preparedness is at the core of the business of PDRF. We need to be prepared. But even then, I would say that the pace and the scale of this pandemic is unlike anything we've seen. We're used to typhoons, earthquakes, and volcanoes, and we've had disease outbreaks in the Philippines. We've had measles, we've had dengue, things like this, but nothing of the scale that we have seen with this pandemic. So we needed to really learn quickly, and so a lot of this has to do with being flexible and being very sort of adaptable in your thinking, because suddenly we had to work home, we had to work remote, we could not convene except remote, except online. So we had to learn to do all these things together. Fortunately for us, our underlying foundation is a network base. So it's easy to contact the companies, and we have existing relationships. That's why we're able to to aggregate so many cash or kind or services to move things quickly. I also happen to come from Ayala, and it's the same thing where everybody was very flexible and very adaptive and agile. So we quickly had to move, and I think for many companies it's the scale and the speed, which is probably the items that took us, by surprise. So we had to learn and learn fast, and you have to kind of learn every day. This pandemic is invisible in a way, until we can figure out where it is. So you have to be very alert and be able to make changes almost on a daily basis, and then you have to be very data intensive. So I think, like all of us in our companies, because we're already data intensive to begin with, we accelerated our sort of ability to crunch data, and whatever business we're in, we're always crunching data. PDRF's the same. It's a very data intensive organization. We crunch a lot of data. So I think that's what helped us cope with the situation.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. So if you were to put a number to it, how quickly was this turnaround that you had to really do something about the situation? Would you say that we were able to turn this around and get our bearings, say, within a month, 2 weeks? How could you put a time to that if you were to assess?
Yeah, I think there were different aspects. I think Maribeth said it well. Now, we started with a pandemic, basically a public health challenge, but actually we have a socioeconomic challenge as well, and then later on, actually a social challenge. So these are all issues which can emerge and can roll into one. So I think from the very beginning, if I recall, by middle of March, when ECQ was declared, within a day or two, we had already concluded that we needed to have a feeding program, because we felt that if people are not able to get to work, people don't have their livelihoods, people are on a daily wage basis, they're going to have problem putting food on the table. So we were able to get all these companies on board and move fast. We literally raised the first 1 billion pesos in 24 hours. And then we started going from there, and we ironed out plans within 24 to 48 hours. And we were at implementation on a pilot, scale within 48 to 72 hours. And then from there, we just kept on adjusting and improving the system, which is why, in a space of only a month, maybe a month and a half, so 4 to 6 weeks, able to reach literally millions of people and millions of families, whether it was serving them through grocery gift certificates or food packs. But in the case of the public health side, it took a little longer. You have to remember that in February, the government had only one testing lab in the entire country. And by April, it only had 17, which is completely crazy for the size of country that we're at. So it took us about 4 weeks to ramp that up from, by a factor of 10. So we had to go up a very steep learning curve, and in the public sector and the private sector, and we had to do it together. I don't think any of us could have done it alone. So the more we worked, but it was long days and long nights. We're remotely on Zoom 7 days a week, 12, 14, 16 hours a day, just problem solving to handle things like PPEs and tests and supply chain, for lab supplies, because there's a lot of supplies involved in this. So
Yeah.
we should have moved a lot faster, I thought, in that area, but we slowly caught up.
Thanks, Bill. Now, Carlos, what was your timeline like? How quickly did you do a turnaround?
I feel really identified with what Bill was mentioning, because you never feel that you're moving fast enough, right? And I'm sure they all felt the same way, but you're used to a situation where your response time is 48 hours. 48 is already not that good, right? And the whole organization operates with very tight SLAs, delivery timeline situations. So we had to change overnight, but there are so many dependencies, right? I think the panelists were raising, like, there are dependencies at logistics level, LGU area levels, your supply chain. So you're trying to coordinate a moving component, which is how fast can you get the products, how fast can you ship, with something that doesn't move, that's customer need and customer perception, right? So our timeline was really 1 week. We kind of gave ourselves 1 week to steer, what we were discussing. How do we get our riders to process fresh items? Who do we partner with? Actually, we've been also discussing with Grab, right? Maybe we need to leverage someone with better capabilities. So a part of it was, okay, let's give ourselves 1 week to assess what we need to do ourselves, what we need to partner and really bring from outside, and then understand the situation on the ground. So completely identified with what Bill was mentioning also. Every day, 7 days a week, war room at 9 in the morning, 9 at night, to see what was the situation on the ground. Because, it's one of those things where no matter how you plan for it, you will get a report at 3 p.m. that the supply moving in this area or the shipment in this port is stopped and will be on hold for 10 days. Or in this certain area, they just set up a barricade and we cannot enter in the next 2 weeks. And no matter how you have the permits, how you have the authorization, there are things that just roadblock the process, right? So I think the timeline of 1 week is interesting because it gives you the time to prepare. But also the part that I'm sure everyone realized makes a big difference is building your organization to give feedback. It's a moment of humility. It's a moment where you need to capture the real situation and you need to protect your people, right? Because there's no point on planning and insisting you go deliver here because you're putting your people at risk. So you need to assess, okay, is this realistic? Okay, do we iterate the plan? There was a point after that initial week that we gave ourselves 3 more days because we didn't even feel that we knew enough about what was happening to finalize the timeline, right? So it's important to have that flexibility to adjust the timeline, to get the whole company on war room mode and capture what's happening and pivot together.
Yeah. Thanks, Carlos. Wow, I'm feeling the pace already. So I'm sure there was a lot of journey management you had to do, RJ. So how much time did you have to turn things around?
We actually resonate with the term of Carlos on war room mode. So I even remember quite clearly that the lockdown started on a Monday back in March, and on that very first
March
night
16th.
even. Yeah. So even on the first night even, we kept on huddling. We even had a call that finished at around 2 in the morning. Transport services are to be suspended. What do we do? Driver partners won't have income. What do we do? So it was a few days, I guess, of discussing of, okay, what's going to be the impact here, there, and whatnot. And then I remember we were so happy that by the end of the week, we were able to launch Grab Bayanihan. So again, Grab Bayanihan is that mother umbrella initiative that we have where we keep housing different initiatives there. So that way we kept ourselves a bit more flexible with the platform while we continue to rethink and redo different programs that we house just there. Because there's just too many moving variables, as to what Carlos said, like the LGUs, different quarantine levels across different areas of the city. You have barangay level lockdowns. So what do you do? What do you do with people needing your service, people depending on the platform for income? So it was really just about how to go be very flexible.
Yeah. Thanks, RJ. We'll ask Maribeth, what was the Aboitiz experience in turning things around?
Oh, it was very similar to everyone's experience. I guess we were all on the same boat. But for us, immediately after the lockdown was announced, we divided ourselves among different groups. First, we had the COVID technical working group. And then you had people who were taking care of the team members. So that was the initial, the employees. That's headed by HR. And then, of course, all the other stakeholders, particularly our host communities, the frontliners and all of that was taken care of by the foundation. We meet daily. We would meet from 5:30 to 8 p.m. every day, including Saturday and Sunday. And the difficulty was actually the procurement. You wanted to give all of these activity materials, but it was so difficult to purchase them. They were not available and they were very expensive. And then the one of Bill in the food supply, I think immediately we participated in that one because we felt that with the lockdown, we don't want people to get hungry because crime rates might go up. That was also a concern for us. We didn't want people to to commit crimes because of hunger. And so all of this, we participate in all different initiatives of the various organizations, including our own initiatives. But it was really like almost every day we were saying, are we going to meet including Saturday and Sunday? I said, but we have nothing to do and we have nowhere to go. So invite us.
Might as well meet.
Thank you, Maribeth. Now I'm hearing, so we got the feeling of the pace, right? We heard about war rooms. And now I'm getting the feel of the 24/7. All right. But for all of our speakers, okay, so on your end, you were able to put together your team. Now the question is, how did you cope with the regulatory requirements? And there were rules, like as you mentioned, RJ, this LGU is different, that's different. Sometimes, even if you go Waze, that Waze doesn't tell you that suddenly there's a barricade. You cannot enter this barangay. So how did you cope with that? Because that was a major factor. No matter how, as you said, Carlos, no matter how well you plan, there's always something out there that's so unexpected. So RJ, then we'll go the round. Yeah, RJ, would you like?
Sorry, sure. I keep remembering that different people would actually message different parts of the team about, hey, okay, this barangay is closed down. What do we do? Hey, what are we going to do with that? So until we found different kinds of trends about different scenarios, and we would be planning for those kinds of scenarios. That way, like for example, instances such as barangay level lockdowns, it wouldn't have been sustainable for the team also to operate it on a per barangay level, but rather we created different kinds of playbooks on what to do with different scenarios. So it was about a very flexible team just dedicated for all of these little things that we're doing, especially in the first parts of the pandemic and the lockdowns. And then creating solutions that are housed to different kinds of scenarios. That way, the entire organization becomes more agile and knows what to do.
Okay, who'd like to share next? Bill?
Yeah, for our part, a lot of my work had to do with how to balance public health issues and opening up the economy. We thought that had to go hand in hand. We had to have some balance between lives and livelihood. So the regulatory, struggle we went through is that when you take a look at public health, when it comes to, say, testing, new testing technologies, it has to go through a very rigorous review, and the Department of Health has to eventually issue a guideline. And sometimes it goes through a review before Department of Health by a group called HTAC for Health Technology Assessment committee. So this can take a little time. And when you don't have enough tests in the market, uh, you want to test your workers. So you begin to bump into all sorts of obstacles. Which test do I use? Do I use a rapid antibody test? Do I use a PCR test? And now there's so many new technologies: antigen tests, pool tests, saliva tests, breathalyzer tests. All of those have a regulation before they can be deployed in the market. And if you don't, then the results are not accepted, and they're a little used to you. So that's kind of one of the problems we face. But on the economic side, we also face problems where, let's say, the government says, "Oh, we're going to relax. We're going to go to GCQ or modified GCQ. We're going to open up more businesses, not just the non-essential businesses, but open up other businesses." But then the problem is there's no transport. There's no mass transit. You can open up the businesses, you allow them to go to work, to allow 55% of the workers to go back to work, but then only allow 30% of, only the mass transit system can only carry 30%. How do you expect people to get to work? They can't walk to work. They can't bike to work. They live too far. So those are the kinds of issues that we come up against. And then when they allow people to come back to work and they open up the public transport and they say, "Oh, let's have a curfew." Well, the problem with the curfew is it shortens the work hours and the commuting hours. If you say curfew's at 8 o'clock, people start leaving the office at 4 o'clock or 6 o'clock. Even the drivers for public transport start shutting down at 6 o'clock. So no one's going to go to work because they have no way of getting home. So, these rules all have to be studied because they have maybe knock-on effects which are unexpected. And that's the kind of regulatory problem that we face. But fortunately, because channels are open between the government and the private sector to give recommendations, they've been able to open. So last night, actually, today, the announcement's been made that they will open up more mass transit, allow more capacity in buses and rail. They will allow to sit closer, provided they have masks and PPEs. By DTI to shorten the, to ease up on the curfew, so we don't have crowds.
I think we have a little technical difficulty here, but I hope Bill can get on. Yeah, in the meantime, we're hearing almost the same concerns, right, across all our speakers. It's something that we've all been aware of, and it's actually very interesting to hear it firsthand from all of you. Bill, you're still on a suspended animation here. So just in case your internet goes on, just pause first. I will go to Maribeth first, okay? And then when you're okay, I will see you on the screen. I'll put you back on. So, but Maribeth, how did you deal with the regulatory issues? Bill, I'll put you on in a bit. Okay, Maribeth.
I think it's similar to the rest. That's the reason why we had a COVID technical working group, was also to come up with the playbooks for each of the scenarios. And that is why every day we would review all of these regulations, all of these guidelines in order to adjust. What's interesting for us, for example, in our power plants and in other manufacturing plants, what we did was we quarantined people for 14 days. So they had to stay inside the plant and work for 14 days, 14-day shifts, so that they didn't have to go out. So this was the arrangement that we had with those that are working in the power, particularly in the power plants, because we had to keep the lights on. The operations have to go on, and we don't want people to go out. So people stay in for 14 days. That's their shift. And then we would test them, isolate the next one, and do that by batches. That's how we coped with all of these different regulations in different barangays.
Thanks, Maribeth. We'll return to Bill. You were saying about how you were coping with regulatory environment and different circumstances while you implemented your programs.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I was saying that for us, we track both the health regulatory and economic regulatory, because we feel that lives and livelihood have to be balanced in this particular case. So as I was saying, for many of our companies who want to test our employees and test employee families, we have to stay on top of the regulatory releases and issuances from Department of Health, because that's what governs testing, all the testing technologies. You if you want to make a decision what type of test you want to use, you need to make sure that it's FDA approved and DOH approved. So many new technologies coming out, but it takes time for the review process. On the economic side, there are a lot of regulations as well on easing up the economy, but then the public transport picture is much too restricted. So you can open up and allow people to go back to work, even for non-essential businesses, but people have no way of going back to work if there's no transport or if the capacity is too low. So we had to work a lot with government to try to convince the government how to open up the public transport system, and actually how to ease the curfew, because curfews unwittingly create crowds in terminals and in bus stops. If our objective is to stop transmission, we should lessen the crowds, not crowds. So if the queue is too long, obviously people are going to be less than 1 meter apart from each other, and exposure will be more than 50 minutes, which is the threshold exposure for infection. So we tried to tell the government and suggest to the government that let's ease up a little bit and thin out the crowds. Thin out the crowds, that will cut the spread. And of course, everyone should have practiced the minimum health standards. So we've got to get all this regulatory mix just in the right balance, and it's got to move fast. And as I said early on, for all our companies, we had to move fast, we had to be flexible, we had to adapt to a changing situation. It will be same for the regulators. They have to be able to move fast and adapt to a changing situation, just like we do.
Yeah. Thanks, Bill. Carlos, from your experience, how did you deal with the regulatory, all the regulatory issues, matters, and compliance?
Well, I agree with everything they said. So I just wanted to add one small thing that I think it's important, which is really relying on the community, right? End of day, we have great lawyers, we have great specialists on the ground, we're all learning and preparing. But what actually worked very well for us is to always be in communication. Every day, calling the logistic partners, calling the NGOs, calling the sellers, the brands that are selling online and they have their manufacturing, and asking. Even something as simple as we have a lot of logistic hubs. So we have our warehouse in Laguna, asking the other neighbor in Laguna, hey, Century, how are things going? How are you doing? Talking to the different partners. Hey, Grab, how is the situation in this area? Here's what I'm seeing. Relying a lot on the community, even for the NGOs, right? This is the PPE that we're using. What are you using? What are you bringing? Because end of the day, nothing beats the power of crowdsourcing. And I think this was also a big lesson for all of us about humility, right? We were designing all these great processes, Lazada Fresh, whatever, but then we couldn't execute because we were lacking certain skills. So we were lacking some feedback on the ground. And then just having a call with one of our partners for 10 minutes, it was like that aha moment where you see how just by changing one piece of the process, you're able to scale. And I think it's really a testament, right? We're all trying to work together, build good public and private partnerships. We're all trying to build responsible companies and show to the community that we are helping each other. And that starts with us, right? That starts with talking to each other and coming up with a bit of a shared position where we learn from each other and we plan together. That worked really well. We got very generous feedback from different people. And at some point, we spent a lot of time consolidating these inputs, right? And having our own tracker of, hey, before we send our riders here, here's what the partner is saying. Or before we go for this setup of full housing accommodation for our staff, here's what our neighbor's doing. So crowdsourcing really, really works. And I think everyone has been very generous during this time sharing.
Thank you, Carlos. We have been having a very firsthand, I call it a real firsthand conversation. It's not every day we get to hear firsthand how your companies and your organizations have been coping and how much time it took you to all your sleepless nights, all your turnarounds. So, but before we end the session, I'd like to again make the rounds of everybody, just very quickly something we can use as a quotable quote. If there was anything, some sentence, some tagline you would like the attendees to remember about you and your company, what would that be? So, what would be that message you want to leave us with this afternoon? So, let's go, ladies first. Maribeth?
Okay, I guess the whole afternoon we've talked about collaborating and partnering, and we're all aware that that needs to get done in order for us to move forward. But I'm thinking that I'm sure some of you, or maybe all of you, have already seen this campaign that's going on around right now. It's about bringing the consumer confidence back. In order for us to get back into our lives, to get back livelihood and all of that, we need consumer confidence. And I think I'd like to leave that particular campaign that's going on right now, yung ingat-angat tayong lahat. That's the only way for us to move forward. Ingat-angat tayong lahat. Thank you.
Thank you, Maribeth. How about Bill?
Yeah, I'm a great believer. We're great believers in PDRF, in partnership, networks, and collaboration. This is what allows us to leverage and bring together resources far larger than any of us on our own can do. And when you're facing a serious problem like a pandemic or any large scale disaster, we need to work together. So I think this partnership and network and collaboration is so important and something that we should live by. Thanks.
Thank you, Bill. RJ?
Hey, so for me, it's actually walang iwanan. Because we're in this together as one big community. And so it's about, let us all work together on inclusive economic and social recovery.
Thank you, RJ. Carlos?
Well, I think it's all about partnering, building opportunities. We are really excited to partner with everyone to reinvent how commerce happens, to reinvent donations, to build businesses online. We want people to see Lazada and in general e-commerce platforms as a gateway for opportunities, for selling, for buying, and for contributing with their wallet to the brands, the sellers that are responsible and they love. So it's really about changing also how we behave as customers and how we support our communities.
Thank you, Carlos. So we've heard consumer confidence, we've heard partnership, collaboration, network, opportunities through responsible business entrepreneurship, walang iwanan, or as we can say, kapit bisig. So I'd like to thank very much our panelist speakers, Maribeth Marasigan, Bill Luz, Carlos Barrera, and RJ Cabaluna. So thank you to all of you for really taking time this afternoon to stay with us, and also to World Vision for really making this meeting of ours possible. And to all those who sent in their questions, thank you very much. If there were one or two questions we were not able to take in because of the time, then perhaps you could send it to the organization, to World Vision, and then probably they can send it out to the speakers or whoever would be available to answer the questions. So I just wanted to say that, well, World Vision has a key message, and really it's in sync with what we've discussed today. It's bayanihan, or keeping closely working together across diverse industries and people. So I think this is something we should not lose in this time. So another, I think, very essential thing is that sustainable and responsible businesses really thrive, right? These are going to be profitable businesses, so it's worth it. It's worth doing this. And because we see, I think there was one speaker I was listening to in another forum, and he said, at the end of the pandemic, people are going to say, what did you do for me when the pandemic was there? So I guess after that, brands are going to be asked that, and consumers will remember the brands who were there for them. So I guess at this point, so we say together, let's create an ecosystem so we all exist for progress and for good. So thank you very much. This has been your moderator. I am Ritzy Villarico Ronquillo, and I'm now turning over the floor to our host, Laika Caparos. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ritzy, for moderating our Q&A segment. I hope we all had a fruitful discussion. And as Ms. Ritzy said, if you do have any questions, if you do have plans for partnerships, for corporate partnerships, specifically, please email Wichelle_Cruz at wvi.org. That is Wichelle, WICHELLE. So that is also on the comment section in our YouTube live this afternoon. So we have come to the end of our day one of our CSR Summit, and I am certain that we're excited for tomorrow, and I'm sure that a lot of you still have questions, and a lot of those questions may be answered tomorrow. We have a full list of panelists also tomorrow. And so before we conclude, we would like to thank our sponsors once again for making this event possible, our corporate partners, Urbanize and New Elements, our media partners, Inquirer.net, Business Mirror, RMN Foundation Incorporated, Net25, and Business World. Our event partners, Arden Communications, Marketing Interactive, Asia CEO, Page One Manila, the Luzon Daily, the Visayas Journal, the Mindanao Life, the Philippine Post, Women.ph, and the Public Relations Society of the Philippines. We are looking forward to seeing you all again tomorrow live here on World Vision's YouTube channel. So for all of those of you who are registered, please don't forget, we sent you a link to our mediums, and please check your link for that. And stay safe, everyone. God bless you, and see you tomorrow.